Welcome to the Action Lab Leadership Podcast, where we have honest, unfiltered conversations with business leaders. My name is Danny. I am the founder of Action Lab Leadership, and today we are joined by Al, who is the president of operations at Smitty's Entertainment. Al, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
Glad to have you here. I'm going to start where I always start this conversation. You're a leader within your organization. Leadership means a lot of different things to a lot of different people. What is leadership to you? How do you define leadership, and what does it mean to you to be a leader?
I think in the simplest terms, being a leader is setting people that you work with up for success. If you're leading correctly and doing the best that you can for your people, you're going to be successful. You have to be able to have them be successful. They need the knowledge, they need the tools, they need the support. And as a leader, it's your job to provide that.
But when you say setting them up for success, does that mean in part getting out of their way? Because I would imagine success for them and setting them up is not micromanaging. It would be kind of the opposite of give them the tools and back up and let them act. Or what does that mean in practicality to set them up for success?
Once you have positioned them for success with, they have the knowledge they need, they have the tools that they need. Yeah, getting out of the way can be very helpful in leading. One of the things that we stress in our company is people are going to make mistakes, and we're going to try things and they're going to fail. But, success is not a straight line. Progress is never a straight line. So if you can eliminate the anxiety that people have with failure, it really opens up their avenue to be successful and to try things and to succeed. And once they have a little success, it just feeds off it. They'll have more success. But you do have to get out of the way and let them succeed and let them try stuff and let them develop and grow the confidence in themselves that they need.
It's one thing to be able to give other people, remove the fear of failure from them and help guide them through, hey, it's okay to fail, get on the other side of it, because success is not that straight line. You're going to have curves and twists and all that stuff. Do you find that easy for yourself when you, as Al, make a mistake, when you fail at something? Or is it easy for you to get on the other side of that? Or do you tend to be harder on yourself than you are on the people that you lead?
I've been involved in activities my whole life where failure is just a part of it. So I don't really beat myself up. If things go wrong, it's going to happen. I'm also a writer. There's my sideline. And there's just tons of rejection involved in that. So I'm used to failure. I don't mind it. I take what I can learn from it and then hopefully do better. And the people that I work with, if something goes wrong, if they make a poor decision, we'll dissect it rather than yell and scream and kick our feet about it.
Yeah. You mentioned that you're a writer. What kind of writing do you do? Is it long form with books and novels, nonfiction? What kind of a writer are you?
Yeah, I'm a novelist. I've also published short stories. My background is in creative writing. I just happen to support myself through the hospitality industry. So I have a crime fiction series that's out. I also have a literary novel. I played in bands. I played in a punk band called the Syphiloids in the 80s and 90s. And there's failure involved in all of that. And you can't go forward if you're afraid of falling down. So then we just try and help our people realize that mistakes are going to happen. The world's going to keep turning.
It always does keep turning. With being formerly in a band and being a writer, there's a lot of creativity that comes from this, right? Do you find that creativity plays a role in your ability to lead people well and your ability to grow yourself? Does creativity help in that regard? And in what ways do you use creativity in your role as a business leader?
Certainly it helps quite a bit. As you know, everybody's different. So motivation for one person might be demotivation for another. So I try to think of ways that are going to connect with people in different ways to help them be successful individually, as well as build a team that we have at Smitty.
It's so interesting that you say that, because while it's so obvious that what motivates one person is maybe not what motivates the next person, it can be very easy for us as leaders is to just sort of assume that, well, everybody's the same, and I'm going to approach everyone on my team and incentivize them the same way, or try to motivate them all the same way. But they're all individual people. They all have different personalities. They have different characteristics. They have different drivers and what matters to them. And it's helpful for us to remember that when we're leading a team, is to remember that all of them are motivated by different things, and they're not just all one unit of staff, all one thing. They're all individual people.
Yeah, absolutely. So we try to tailor things. We have a basic plan that we put out there for everybody. But as you know, some people are good with analytics. Some people are better off talking to people, and not so much on the back end. And putting people where they can be successful, and using those strengths while you develop their weaknesses, it's a key. So we try to look at everybody, see where they can do better, and make sure that they want to do better. Well, we don't want people in our team that just want to punch the clock. And if we have that, we try to find a way to get them invested.
Before we started recording, you told me that you had a lot of great mentors throughout your career. And one of the things you said is leadership is setting people up for success. It sounds like you had a lot of people to help set you up for success throughout your career. How has that helped you in your current role, knowing what it's like to have mentors who care?
It's so critical. One of my first management jobs in hospitality was with Hard Rock Cafe Boston, when it was the 6th Hard Rock in the world. And I was promoted to bar manager. And I was a stress magnet because it was a big job. And we had a lot of metrics that we had to hit. But at the same time, the company was coming out of a hippie ethos. So it was a really cool place to work for. And one of my managers there expressed that his father taught him the way that you're successful is that you let the people beneath you who work for you push you up. And Ryan O'Neill is his name. He's Austin, Texas. He's in the hospitality industry still. He let me have a lot of rope to do things in a somewhat of a corporate setting that weren't being done elsewhere in the company. And a lot of those things ended up being nationally used and internationally used. And, he had faith in me that I could do things that I wasn't sure I could do. And it was awesome. Mm-hmm. And sure, we made some mistakes, but the world kept turning. Yeah. And then I had other people that I worked for there who taught me the whole back end of the business. It's the amount of great people that I worked with that have been able to contribute to me in my growth is innumerable. And I feel that, the pay it forward thing is a cliche, but if I can do just a fraction of what these people did to me for the people that I work with, it's awesome. And you feel really good about your job and how you're approaching it. And to see the people that I work with succeed is probably the greatest part of being a leader.
You've used the term "the world keeps turning" a couple times now already in this interview. Is that a mantra that you have, that you use, or is that just a phrase that happened to come up during this conversation so far?
No, it's kind of a mantra for me. Like, whatever happens, we just have to go forward. We're not, solving the Middle East crisis. We're not, bridging the divides in the United States at this time. We're trying to provide an environment where people can have great entertainment, forget themselves, and have great experiences. The better we do at that, the more happy people we have on the planet, it's a good thing, but we're not splitting atoms. The world isn't hanging in the balance. So if we realize that, that takes a lot of the edge off.
There's a phrase a friend of mine in the industry uses, Edge. He says, it's not kidneys in a cooler that we're dealing with. Because a lot of times, when we have work that we care about, we have businesses and responsibilities that we care about. And at times, because we care, we can magnify things that go wrong into something so much more stressful than it needs to be and so much bigger than it really is because we care. But then we, on that same track, can lose sight of the perspective of this thing that we are killing ourselves over or beating ourselves up over or hyper-fixating on. And the grand scheme is not that big of a deal. It's not, we will solve it, we will fix it, and we will move on. But to let it take all of our focus, our time, our effort, our energy away and sucked into this black hole of a problem doesn't do us any good.
No, absolutely not. I couldn't agree more.
Yeah.
We only have so much energy to expel, right, on a daily basis. And if we get mired in negativity and, oh, we're going to fail, we're doomed, nothing is ever going to get done. So it's always take your lumps, keep getting up, keep going forward.
And in what ways do you keep your mindset focused optimistically and productively when you're attacking new problems? Because in business, we're always going to be coming across new things we've never seen before. We're going to be coming across novel problems that we've never experienced. What are the things that you do to keep yourself in the headspace that's helpful and productive to solve those problems instead of getting, in your words, stuck in the mire of negativity?
I try not to multitask, which is kind of an antithesis of what people are supposed to be doing these days. If you have one problem, if you have a legal pad full of the problems that you're going to be dealing with that you have to take care of, and you look at like the whole page, wow, how am I going to deal with this? And take them one at a time. I'm going to deal with this, then I'll go to the next one. Yeah, it's a matter of not letting yourself get overwhelmed.
Yeah, and it's interesting that you mentioned being able to do one thing at a time, because a lot of us will multitask to think we're being more productive because we're doing more than one thing simultaneously. But there's a lot of research that shows that we're not actually doing things simultaneously. We're just rapidly switching between two things super fast. And not only do we do each of them slower than we would if we do one thing and then the other, but we also do it at a lower quality. And so I think there's a lot of value in being able to set aside other distractions, set aside other things that aren't as high of a priority and do the one thing and focus on that one thing until it's either done or you've reached a stopping point to move on to something else. Because we'll always work on projects that take more than one sitting, take more than 1 hour to solve. It'll be weeks of work, but to break it down into for this hour, this 30 minutes, or this 2 hours, this is the thing that I'm doing.
One of the other mantras that I use is from John Wooden's pyramid. Go slow to go fast. So, you take that one thing, you do it right. You take a thoughtful approach. Make sure it's where you want it. And if it takes a little longer up front, that's great because you're not spending time on the back end correcting, fixing, trying to crawl out of whatever hole you dug for yourself. So that's one thing that I try to really push across in our company. Take your time, do something right, think about it, take a thoughtful approach, and you're going to have better results.
It's interesting, and thinking through this in myself, and I'm not sure which of these comes first, but I know that if I'm ever in a mode of trying to do a lot of things at once, it's either creating or coming from a sense of anxious stress. If I'm singularly focused on one thing at a time, I feel for myself, I'm a lot less stressed. And again, I don't know if what came first, the chicken or the egg in this scenario. I'd have to do some more reflection, but thinking through this is really interesting because if I'm trying to do many things at once, I don't know if that's creating anxious stress or because I'm anxiously stressed about something, I'm trying to do it all at once. It could be a little bit of both happening simultaneously. But have you had any experience like that? Does that resonate with you in certain ways when you've tried to multitask and feeling that kind of stressful energy?
Oh, sure. When you're working on one thing and then something else comes up, it's going to take your attention away from, something that you want to do. And then you're in problem solving and then you're putting out fires.
Yeah.
So there's a labor project that I started at the Dine-In Cinema Summit last year. Try to get predictive labor models for our industry. I started it last year. I finished it. I started it in February of 2025. I finished it last month.
At the time of recording, it's November 2025 right now.
I had worked on it for a while. Things would come up where I couldn't devote the energy and focus I needed. I'd put it away. But in my subconscious, it's always there. I need to get this done. I'm going to get it done. But things come up and you have to prioritize in different ways. But I didn't let it go. And I had a good couple of weeks earlier this month, in the end of October, where I had time I could devote to it and really give it the focus that I needed. And I was finally able to complete it. It's not perfect. As a company, we'll refine it and work at it. But it's a 10-month project.
You said something right there that I want to spend some time on because it's something that happens. I talk to business owners every week, all the time, right? In the mastermind groups that I run and some of the coaching that I do. And it's so common, whether the business owners or high achievers or leaders like yourself, a phrase along the lines of, here's this thing I did. Well, it's not perfect, but, or it's, we still have a lot of work to do, or I got a lot I want to improve on it. We immediately take the thing that we just did and we talk about all the reasons it's not good enough yet, which is so fascinating to me because one, perfect doesn't exist. There will never be a point in time now or in the future where you're going to look, I would imagine, from my perspective at least, where you're going to look at that program or any other and go, it's perfect, don't touch it, leave it. It's exactly, never has to change ever again, it's perfect. Perfect doesn't exist. But I point that out because of how often it's important to have this desire to want to push for more and to want to be better and achieve greatness and mastering the things that we do. And there's always room for improvement. But what I find very often in all these coaching conversations that I have is how, because of our focus on talking about why something isn't good enough, it's very hard for us to celebrate the thing that we just did. Do you find it difficult to celebrate accomplishments like this project that was an 18-month project from beginning to end?
Well,
I'm really happy that it was finally completed. And one of the things that I've learned as a writer is you have to write several drafts of a story. And my rough drafts, my first drafts, are incredibly horrible. So the process of starting with a baseline and then improving and just continuing until you're happy in your gut and in your head is a process that I'm used to.
Okay.
So I know that the labor model isn't perfected yet. Maybe it will never be. There's some things that are really difficult about it, but it's a framework with which we can improve and become more profitable.
Mm-hmm.
So there's always something good that you can take. And the process and recognizing the process is important as well. If you value the process, then the end goal isn't life or death, which I think is important as well.
It is important. And I would issue a challenge to those watching and listening to this particular episode is to just not even attempt to change behavior or mindset, but just monitor and be aware of how often you say that about the work that you do, about, well, I finished this. Yeah, it's not perfect yet. Or, I still have a lot of work to do. There's a long way to go until we're done. Or there's some sort of language reminiscent of that, and just be aware of how often it happens, because I watch it happen so frequently with business leaders and business owners, and yet they at the same time wonder why they struggle to celebrate wins and to celebrate things that are going well in the business. I'm like, there's a perfect example, because we use this language to degrade our own work. And yes, we're always going to want to push for more. You're always going to want to make the next draft better than the last draft that you just had. That's true. And we can also be really proud of the draft that we just did. This takes a shitty first draft to make a good second draft, right?
Absolutely.
Absolutely. So I know you had mentioned earlier that you've had a lot of mistakes, failures in your career, like we all had. And we will all constantly make mistakes and have failures. Is there a particular mistake that you can look back on that you made in your leadership journey that was a painful one that you've learned from and gotten better on the other side? What was that, and what did you learn?
Probably going back to when I started as a bar manager at the Hard Rock. One of the most critical components of that job was I had to hit a certain liquor cost to get a bonus. And it was, the cost was everything. And I was in a dead panic about, am I going to hit my costs? How can I do this? The managing the people, I thought, would be easy. Right? It's all people I've worked with. I can lead the people. That's not going to be a problem. The numbers are going to be the problem. Well, what I learned in a quick period of time was numbers are numbers.
Wait.
The people are always the challenge. I've had great people that I've worked with in the past that have worked for me. I have great people on my team at Smitty's, but the people are always the challenge. The numbers take care of themselves, and it's investing in the people that leads to success on a personal level and on a business level. And it's the most difficult part, and it always will be.
It also represents the biggest opportunity, because it's the challenge and it's the opportunity. Because like you said for yourself, you had a lot of great mentors throughout your career as you moved from position to position and moved up within the organization or what other organizations in the past. Having those mentors for yourself is what allowed you to grow. You were the difficult part of their life, so to speak, but you were also the opportunity for them.
Right.
And right now, all the people that you lead, they're an opportunity for you as well. And I can see that you're taking advantage of that opportunity in a good way, not taking advantage of people, but you're, from conversations that you and I have had, I know you're so focused on growing yourself and finding the leadership skills and the way to be able to communicate to your team to help them get better and to help them improve. So I always like to point out that, yes, people are the challenge. Like, I can be a challenge for other people and they can be a challenge for me. It's also the opportunity. And that's part of what makes leadership so amazing, is because it's an opportunity for us to make people better.
Yeah, you have to recognize that good ideas can come from everywhere and everyone. And you don't want to create a culture where people are afraid to speak out with an idea, or they're afraid to be wrong. Another quote that I use quite a bit in our management training is, I quote Elmo, "Asking questions is a good way of finding things out."
I like that.
So there are no dumb questions in our meetings, in our strategy sessions. And any question can lead to a great improvement. And this doesn't just go for our management, but our frontline staff too. We have people that reach out to me. Everyone in the company has access to my email. We'll get food ideas from cooks. We'll get, a food runner will pull me over. "Hey, Al, why don't we do this?" Or, "How can we do things this way?" And we have a lot of good ideas that come from a lot of different areas that may make me look good, because a lot of them are successful. And they're not my ideas. It's just I've given someone the opportunity to come forward and share their thoughts. You have to have a upward and downward communication in a business team.
What is a leadership quality or characteristic that you're working on improving yourself right now? What is something that you look at in yourself and you say, it's not quite where I want it to be. That's something I really want to focus on. That's maybe a weakness of mine. That's an area where I need to grow. What comes to mind for you?
I could be more patient. I know where we could develop certain areas better, give people more opportunities. And sometimes I don't understand when people are given the rope or given the path, where they can go forward and try stuff that they're still reluctant to do it. So, I can sit there and say, why doesn't it just happen? But, everybody's different, and people learn and progress at different paces, including myself. There are, one of our trainings we did was on professional communication. And I think I had the highest score of using profanity, which was not a positive metric.
That was a negative metric they were tracking, that you were highest on the list.
In a meeting of 30 managers, I'm the leader in profanity use, which is not a great thing. It's a very poor example. But I've worked on that. I might finish in the middle of the pack at this point.
That's a 50% improvement. Look at that.
Yeah, I was coming from way back as well.
So for you, when you talk about patience, it sounds like patience for you comes in the form of being patient with the speed at which other people are learning and improving, or is it patience with other things as well?
Yeah, it can be anything. I learned to be patient with that labor project. But there are changes, that we all like to make, and things cannot usually happen overnight. So we just have to do the best we can and accept that progress will be slow in areas, even though we'd like things to be done overnight. But we can only do what we can do.
When progress is slow, let's say it's something that you're working on yourself, it's not dependent on other people's input or growth. You're working on something, the progress is slow. Do you still enjoy the process? Or does your impatience lead you to not enjoy what you're doing and just want to get to the finish line?
Oh, that is a good question. I wish I could say that I'm always great about that. Sometimes I will get frustrated. Sometimes I'll be acceptable. I'm a work in progress just like everybody else. And when that frustration hits, it's okay for me, I'll set something aside and go back to it. Because in my job, I always have something I can deal with. And if I have to take longer and take a more thoughtful approach, or try to come at something from a different angle and use lateral thinking instead of vertical thinking, I'll do it.
Well, it's interesting because this conversation, the direction we just went in, it makes me think about how we can have projects that we're working on or seasons that we're going through that when we're in that moment and we're in the thick of it and we're in the mud, so to speak, we can sometimes go, I just want this to be over. I just want to have this done. I want this behind me. I want the finish line. Let's move on to the next thing. Yet later on, whether that's months or years, we can then look back on the thing that was really difficult at the time, the mud that we went through, that at the time was hard, and we can look back on it fondly and consider those the good old days that we actually miss. Do you have any things that you've gone through that in the moment you're like, this sucks, I want this to be over, I want to get to the other side, but then later on you look back on it with nostalgia almost and wish for that time again?
You don't know. It would be difficult for me to think of something. I really don't even have an answer for that one.
I'm waxing poetic over here about these philosophies and ideas that rattle around in my brain all the time.
There are things that we've done that didn't go well, but they've led us to a place where maybe we put them away and did something else that did go well. it's just the same. You sometimes have to be accepting of you're in the hamster wheel and you're going to be in it. As long as you're putting one foot in front of the other, the wheel's going to keep turning. Some days it's going to turn quickly. Some days you're not going to have the energy. It's going to turn slow, and it's going to be a grind. I've been a distance runner since high school. And, when I started running because I had a friend on the track team, I got cut from JV baseball, which was a horrible thing at the time. He convinced me to go out for track. And what I've learned through distance running is if you do it every day, you'll get better. So as long as you keep at it, whatever it is, business, running, writing, training your dog, if you keep at it, things will improve. It's just a matter of grinding and not giving up. And some grinding is fun, some grinding is not fun. But you just have to be accepting that, not everything is going to be sunshine and daisies. There are going to be days and even months that are a grind and not fun. Yeah. And you just have to work through it.
Yeah, we do have to work through it. And my personal philosophy, and one that I think about all the time, is even in those days or weeks or seasons where it's not fun, it's not sunshine and rainbows, things are really, really hard, I try to focus as much as I can on loving the process. Because achievements are momentary. The process is forever. We are in process all the time. But when we have the achievements, it's this little tiny sliver of time, and then we move on to the next thing and wait that next month, 2 months, 3 months, however long it takes to get to that achievement that we celebrate for about 5 minutes and move on again.
Right. If you value the process, you'll always have something to appreciate.
Man.
Even when it's going rough. If you're totally based on the achievement, you're leaving yourself open to take a beating.
What are you appreciating right now?
This is a big space, and we've carved out a little piece of it for ourselves. And I'm still learning. And talking to you is a good way for me to expand my own leadership and open up some avenues of thought that I probably hadn't considered. So I'm very appreciative of that.
That's why I love conversations like this, because it's a way for us to hear perspectives and ideas from other people that we maybe have never met before. There'll be people watching and listening to this that maybe are unfamiliar with Smitty's, have never met you before, but from a story that you told here, that they can go, that's an interesting nugget. I like the way that you thought about this. I like this. The world keeps on turning. I'm going to use that as a mantra now. I'm going to build that into my everyday so that when I have that failure and the thing in front of me that I'm weighing myself down in all of this stress, I can remember, oh, sun's going to come up tomorrow. Everything's going to be okay. Just keep moving forward. Keep making it happen.
Yeah. We have it's funny, at the end of the day, there's always like leftover stress. I didn't get this done. This is bad. I'm going to have to deal with it tomorrow. And then you get up the next day. It's never as bad as you thought it was at the conclusion of the previous day. It's manageable. But by the end of the day, if you're not making progress, sometimes you think it's not manageable. But somehow the next day, it's always manageable.
It's amazing what happens when you put a little bit of time distance between you and that stressful point. You go, okay, it's really not that bad.
Absolutely.
So as we wrap up our conversation here, do you have a recommendation of what is one action that our listeners and our viewers can take today, tomorrow, immediately to become a better leader in their organization? Do you have one recommended action that they should start doing right now in order to become the best version of themselves?
I think everyone could ask some people that work for them, how can I help you? How can I help you do your job better? What do you need, Cindy? It's a real simple thing, but sometimes we get so caught up in our own stuff, we forget to ask. And the answers that you get, if they're honest, can They're going to help the person that works for you, which is ultimately going to help you. Everybody wins.
I love that. That's a great place to wrap up. Al, thank you so much for joining us here on the show today.
Thanks, Danny. I appreciate it.
And thank all of you for watching and listening to this podcast. If you liked what you heard, don't forget to subscribe and share this episode with a friend that you think would find this valuable. And go out there, take action in your business, and become the leader that your team needs you to be.